Are you ready to save our kids? If children are the living messages that we send to a time that we will not see, Save Our Kids is an opportunity for you to be introduced to a few school and student helpers that will support each child's individual journey. If there is a space or a place to improve the lives of our children, we know a few families and business owners who have made it their business to answer the call for help and provide a solution to those quietly discussed challenges that impact our children and eventually us all. We could not just choose one kiddo to save, so we are asking for your help to reach more. Join Keeping Your Kids Safe as we identify some of the problems and share a few solutions that have been created just for you.
Hello, hello. Hi, guys. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So today I'm on the East Coast. Man, it's been a little bit of a challenge, but I think we're still good. We're still good. We're still doing all the right things, but it's fun. So I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to have. It looks like I'm going to have all the men here today. So it's just not a girl thing. Like normally, it's like a lot more women. But we have one more person, one more guest that's going to join us shortly. But we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to start by saying thank you, welcome all those who come to join us. And I always want to say, hey, Joe, thank you very much for deciding to come and spend your time with us as we sit and discuss some of the challenges that we know as parents or experiencing as participants in all of this. So this is how I'm going to start today. I'm just going to give a little bit of information about the background for Save Our Kids and why we're here. I feel like a little off today, but only because I've just relocated to a different space. That's all. So one, Save Our Kids was created as a way to highlight the good work of all those families and those different people, those different people who are doing great things to help our children, right? We are doing it in a way that is going to be extremely helpful for everyone. This is not an opportunity to point fingers or blame. This is an opportunity for us to come together as a group and say, this is what we want to do. And we notice that there is a problem and a change that has to happen. I don't wish to blame anyone. I don't wish to cause anybody harm or cause any shame or disrespect anyone. It is never meant for that. So if we look at it in the year 2020 and 2021, the total enrollment was 49.4 million children in the United States, with an anticipation of a decrease down to 46.9 million children being enrolled into school by 2031. So if that's the case, we have to be concerned about the decline that's happening, because that's a cry for help. With 55% of 4 million teachers wanting to quit, that's letting us know that's a cry for help. It's time for us to do something different. Our children are our future, and that is at stake. What we gift them is not okay when it's bad for them, right? So we want to go ahead and put our best foot forward and help as many people as possible in order to support, right? So I always want to ask people, what side of the fence are you going to be on? Are you going to actively contribute, or are you going to silently participate? Because believe it or not, regardless of what side of the fence you're on, you do participate in the outcome that we're receiving today. And today we have some people we have some gentlemen here who have actually made it their business to actually help to improve our children's trajectory and development, and include them and kind of wrap their arms around them. And so there are times in which I say men are not as nurturing as women are, but they're not meant to be, right? They nurture differently, and they actually correct where women are overly nurturing. Sometimes they actually helped us to correct that and get us a little bit more balance and harmony. So with that being said, I know I'm really short on these QR codes, so I apologize for that, but we're going to go ahead and allow everybody to come up and tell a little bit about their business and tell us what they're up to. So we're going to go ahead. Oh, I should have put me up first, huh? All right, Dave, you're up first.
Awesome. Thanks, Tabitha. And I love what you just said there about, if we're going to silently sit back and, let this happen, or if we're going to proactively jump in and create change. And my background is about 15 years in law enforcement. I left that a couple of years ago with the intention of seeing a way to more proactively get involved with families and youth and helping protect them. My background with the law enforcement was a lot of years spent on the tactical operations side of things, and then moving over as a human trafficking investigator. And knowing that and seeing, that side of things when you're working on it, that it's such a reactive process, getting involved with investigations, being able to help people who are being victimized in the world out there. And one thing that always aligned with me as a police officer when I was doing that, but it's something I never had the opportunity to do, is working more closely with youth who are vulnerable. And this day and age, there's no demographic for that. Every child out there, especially in the online and digital world, sits in a high state of vulnerability, including their parents. So what it is that I do now is I help parents and youth protect themselves in the online digital world, providing them with strategies and education and the prevention of internet child exploitation. And then that expands into a lot of other education that's relevant for parents when it comes to being financially extorted online, helping them better understand the social media world, where the dangers exist in the social media world, right? There's over 5 million online predators, with 500,000 of them active every single day looking for their next victim. And I really believe that the preventative strategies in that lies in education and helping people better recognize and understand risks when they're presented to them, knowing what to do if and when faced with that, and then even more so, knowing what to do if a mistake has happened and you end up self-exploiting yourself online, what you can do, where you can go, and what you need to do to be able to be proactive and taking the steps to start to reverse course from what's happened. There's a massive fallout when it comes to this, and far too many youth have made the decision of taking their own life as a result of being exploited online. They don't see a way out. There's a lot of fear and embarrassment that goes with it, and they don't know the next steps that they need to take. And ultimately, in a very rash, quick decision, youth end up deciding to take their own life. And there's, I think that we can really start to move away from that and help people, normalize the topic, help people better understand it, help people better understand that it's not just a problem that only exists when you see it in the media. It's happening every single day. So we aim to give parents and youth the tools to prevent that. We touch on topics such as human trafficking awareness as well, social media, how to build an environment of fostering trust within the home. And then we teach the youth in a different way in different age brackets, from 6 to 8, 9 to 11, 12 to 15, and 16 plus, in a different way than we teach the parents, right? We know that if mom or dad ends up, going to their kids, because our goal isn't to have parents just take technology away from their kids. Technology is needed. It's needed for education. It's needed for future careers. It's needed for content creation, right? We're moving in that world. So we want to be able to empower youth to be able to use this technology, not take it away from them. And we know that if mom or dad try to have the conversation with them, a lot of times for kids who know much more about the digital world than what any of us probably do, it's going to go in one ear and out the other. So we take the approach that we do the education for the kids, helping them better understand it, and maybe hearing it from a different voice, from a different person, gets them more involved with being a part of the solution.
You're absolutely correct. And you know what? I'm glad that you're here to talk to us about this, because one thing is that I just finished watching Sound of Freedom. And I have to honestly say that by itself made me very, very, I was more aware of what is happening now than I ever was before. And that's because I was able to kind of look at it from a different perspective. and we all participate whether we know it or not. And I'm glad that you're here to talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
well, thank you. So Aaron, you're up next. You get to talk to us about you.
Oh, yes, I'm Aaron DeVries, the inclusive dad. I have a daughter, Cecilia. She has epilepsy. We found out at 3 months old she was having seizures. Before that, I didn't know anything about disabilities, never grew up with it. Just had to learn from scratch. I mean, what disability is for one, and then what systems are in place from school to county stuff, just all the different systems. So I spent a lot of time learning about the special education system. So what I do is I coach families to navigate that special education system. I kind of call it the maze, like different universe. It's a parallel universe. You have the regular education. I have a son who was born, and then 15 months later, my daughter was born. So just going through the experience with him and not the special education side of it, and then having my daughter and going through it, just a lot of crazy stories. Want to come alongside families and assist them in that process. The reason the inclusive dad part, my daughter, she also was diagnosed with cerebral palsy, so she used a wheelchair. So we went along with what the schools said and sent her across town to the segregated special education room. Found out after that there is something called inclusion where she can be in the regular classroom. So once she was out of the general education room, we're trying to get her back in. It was pretty much a constant fight. So just want to, like you said, be proactive. Tell parents, you can ask questions. There are other options. If you feel in your gut that you want your child to be fully included, bring it up to your team and go that route. And then if you find out later on, like we did, there are ways that you can, use the process to help get your child as included as you want them to be. So just, like I said, I help families navigate that special education process. Lots of parents like myself, I didn't know I could question the school. I kind of thought they knew everything. It's okay as a parent to question the school. If something doesn't feel right, bring it up. So just wanting to be more inclusive. Like I said, she has a wheelchair. So even in this day and age, we come across sidewalks still that don't have curb cuts. So she's not able to get around everywhere like she should be able to. So just trying to educate also, up friends, family, society that we can do better. So that's how I help families.
I think it's awesome. First of all, you will love our shows lately. So we have people in the audience definitely that are listening to us who would definitely want to be able to connect with you. So Kristen will be one. She's Inclusion and Allies. So I know there's more to that, Kristen. So put your information in the chat. I mean, in the comments so that he can find you. And Phil Vetrano, he's with Helpopedia. Thank you, Helpopedia, for always being here and supporting us. So that's another group that we want to connect you with, because those people, a lot of families, they need that support and that additional help, and we don't know what we don't know until somebody points it out to us, right? And for the last few weeks, we've really been talking about the IEPs, the ARDs, IDEA, and all those other things. And so, I'm glad that you're here, because you're going to be able to shine a light in a lot of places where people don't realize it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Corey. Hi, welcome.
Hey, good day, everybody. I'm not sure what time zone everyone is, so I'll just say good day. Like our previous guest, I come from a law enforcement background. My name is Corey Jones, and my business now is Safety Man Consulting, as you can see down the bottom. I spent a lot of my time also in the tactical arena, instruction arena. I did have the good fortune of being able to be a DARE instructor. And so I did spend 2 years in the school as both community policing and a DARE officer. So I got to see a lot of different perspectives and hear, instead of just showing up when kids are in crisis or there's an issue, I get to get there before and talk to them, help them prevent or navigate something that should happen in the future. What my passion is is educating people to increase their safety, security, and enhance their survivability of any type of incident, whether it be a motor vehicle crash to a traumatic medical event or some sort of act of spontaneous crime, and anything that you can fall in there. My additional passion is speaking in front of groups of people just to motivate them and increase their awareness for crisis management, active shooter training, or anything like that, to show that you will survive better, you will prevent better if you have a plan, if you've had training, if you've had instruction. And then when my give back, and the reason that I'm so glad that Tabitha and invited me back on today is I love talking to, I hate that I have to, but I love talking especially to young brown men and young brown boys about how to safely interact with law enforcement when they come upon each other in a potentially confrontational situation, because neither side has a crystal ball. You know, the youth is doing what he or she or they are doing, and the officer is responding to a call or saw something that he or she determined was suspicious and is doing his or her job to investigate that. And while I train officers all the time in verbal de-escalation and professionalism and teaching people with dignity and respect, I believe it's a two-way street. And I think if parents aren't doing as great a job because of maybe single parent homes and other issues, or people having to work two jobs and not being able to spend as much time, I try to fill that gap. In fact, that's what I'll be doing next week, going back to my alma mater. I go every year to my school and give this exact same talk, about a 45-minute talk, and ask questions for how especially young brown men can survive an encounter with law enforcement with their dignity and their life. And it's not just about what you do, it's about how, if that officer was wrong, I'm giving you ways to be able to document that effectively, report it effectively, and make that officer pay or get training or be terminated if that's what the case is. So it's on both sides. So thank you.
I love that. I'm so glad you're able to come back. And here's the wonderful thing. Believe it or not, each one of you I met at different times, but you all came with the same identical, with very similar agendas and backgrounds. So that's why it was important to make sure all of you gentlemen were on the kind of the same call, to show that there is a preventative way to avoid some of these things. And then even when you're not able to prevent it, you're also able to, you're able to help de-escalate and do some other things that will help the community as a whole. So I'm very thankful that you are here. You're back again with us, because we get to talk about a few cool things. Okay, so then there's me. I want to take a moment to thank our friends at Helpopedia. If you don't know them, please go ahead and scan that QR code and connect with them. You'll be able to meet with a bunch of advisors and people who are going to be able to help you through a very challenging time, in your child's development. We have our children for 18 years. At the end of the day, the world has them for the balance of their lives, right? We have to prepare them in a way that's going to be extremely helpful. Helpopedia helps you to get that. Also, what do I say? Oh, if you can do me a favor, please scan and like the YouTube channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get updates and different things like that as we continue to bring you more and more information that's going to help support you, your school, and your family. My name is Tabitha Barron, and I am the founder of Keeping Your Kids Safe. I created this platform because my niece at the age of 5 was placed on a wrong school bus twice in the same school year. I know you've heard me say that many times, right? But here's the thing. One of the things I talk about is you can be part of the solution or part of the problem. Sometimes people say, when you say, oh, you're part of the problem, they immediately become defensive. At the end of the day, you contribute or you participate, but either way it goes, you're still feeding into the same system. So we have to do something different. My niece came home safely, but recently we have had a few different students that did not. So I will continue to ring the bell. I will continue to have this conversation. I will continue to say my story, because until we do something different, our children are at risk. Like I said, I just got finished watching that movie, Sound of Freedom, and that actually opens your eyes to what potentially happens. You can put your child outside and they can be picked up by anyone, or you can send your child to school the same way they walk to school every single day. But because you don't have a heads up as to when they left the school building, guess what happens? There's a window of time that you are unaware of where your child is. And that is the place where I work to resolve that and minimize that. This is always an opportunity to let you know we love our teachers. We're not here to say that you are doing it wrong. We are here to say we are here to support you. Anyone who wants our support, it comes with love, nurturing, and a whole lot of hard knocks sometimes. But we still love you because we want the best for you and our children. Because the gift that we give them for what they have to live with for the rest of their life is one that actually has an imprint that's long lasting. So that being said, I seen something. I normally start with a question, but I seen something and I'm going to read it because this is why I was like, this can't continue. This is why our children are in a really bad place. So I seen someone post it and it says, big and bold, parents are the problem. As a retired teacher, I am sick of people who know nothing about public schools or have not been in a classroom recently deciding how to fix our education system. The teachers are not the problem! Exclamation point. Parents are the problem. Still same. They are not teaching their children manners, respect, or even general knowledge of how to get along with others. The children come to school in shoes that cost more than the teacher's entire outfit, but have no pencil or paper. Who provides them? The teachers often provide them out of their own pockets. When you look at the schools that are failing, look at the parents and the students. Do parents come to parent nights? Do they talk to the teachers regularly? Do they make sure the children are prepared by having the necessary supplies? Do they make sure the children do their homework? Do they have working telephone numbers? Do the students take notes in class? Do they do their homework? Do the students listen in class? Or are they the sources of class disruptions? When you look at these factors, you will see that it is not schools that are failing, but the parents. Teachers cannot do the jobs and the parents' jobs. Until parents step up and do their jobs, nothing is going to be better. So I'm going to open it up for everyone to be able to talk a little bit more about what that was, because for me, that was problematic, and that's victim blaming at its finest, and that is unacceptable in my opinion. But I will open the floor up for anyone else who wants to talk about it.
I'll jump in here, Tabitha. And I'll try to keep it to the point because it's like you just kind of handed me a loaded gun right there with so many things to talk about, because I truly believe it takes two to tango. We've got parents now who believe that even if I'm doing my job, that when I send my kids to school for 8 hours a day, the government's educating my children. And some people like that. Some people don't like that. But at the end of the day, you have schools who are doing the best with what resources they have. And in my world of online digital safety and protecting kids from that, and I think you and I spoke about this, Tabitha, that we live in a very reactive society. People don't try to fix things. They don't try to change things. They don't try to change their health. They don't try to fix anything for their kids until something's happened. They don't, until it's oftentimes far too late. And so that then leads, parents to, and what I talk to parents about that we work with is, not my child, or it won't happen to me, is not a viable defense. But parents just live, and not all, but from what you just read there, they have this big bubble around them, and they think that the problems that we're discussing are only in the media. Well, it only happens if I read it in the news, and if I don't see it in the news, it's not actively going on. Or if I didn't watch the movie Sound of Freedom, kids aren't being taken off our streets and everything like that. And on that note, when it comes to that in the online world, we're inviting strangers right into our home. So when you hand your kid a device and you say, not my kid, they're not going to mess this up, or they know better than to do that, and you send them upstairs night after night after night, instead of having routine, structure, doing your homework, support, great conversations with them around the dinner table, helping educate them, helping prevent all these things that you just addressed are going on at school, the kids get this real sense of disconnection, and the parents are equally disconnected with it. And that's where the problems begin to build. And if kids aren't getting the attention from mom and dad, they're going to turn to somebody online for that attention.
And that's why you're here. And that's what parents don't see, and the teachers too. Because this teacher, I found there, so I feel like because this is victim blaming, you're saying that if I'm kidnapped, it's my responsibility to stop that madness. But if you put parents in a position to not be able to care for their children, how are they supposed to help support you in that? But the one thing I will say the teacher says that is true, absolutely true. If your child's tennis shoes are more expensive than all of their clothes put together and they don't have school supplies, we need to reevaluate your priorities. That is one of the things in that post that I found exactly correct. I agree. Do not do that. Education is important. Looking good is cool, but you don't have to have the most expensive gear on in order to look cool and to be educated. So you get to choose. If it becomes a choice, I would prefer education over style, because style will come with education, right? You make enough money, you can style yourself out of the wazoo, but you can't do it if you don't have an education, because $7.25 an hour is way different than a $75 an hour job. So when you look at it short term, have all of your stuff to go into class. Long term, you can dress as fly as you want, but it has to be on a different dollar. So, gentlemen, do anyone else have any comments about this?
Yeah, Tabitha, you mind if I jump in? I'm probably going to play on the other side of the fence here a little bit. I'm going to support a little bit of what you read. Is I alluded to it earlier, is when parents aren't giving their kids manners and respect and self-control, and we're giving them a world with this box here, right? This box that we've been talking about that has everything in it all the time, that immediate gratification, that dopamine hit every 5 to 7 seconds. And when they're not getting that in school and they're not getting that someplace else, they look for it in any other way they can. And that makes the job, and I noticed a difference, and I'm sure former law enforcement officers will tell you the same thing. When we first started our career 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, kids, the level of respect in schools with their parents. I mean, my last call when I retired in 2018, one of the last calls, our daughter and our mom were in the car driving. The daughter got mad at the mom, and she just grabbed the gear shift and put the car in park while the mom was driving down the street. No respect for how much that was going to potentially cost the family. No respect for how dangerous that potentially was to everybody else. Just acting out because she wanted her needs met at that time. So I do agree that the teachers somebody's going to have to pick up this burden, because the parents have dropped it. Things have shifted a lot. I know how I was brought up. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
No, ma'am. Yes, sir. No, sir. And 100%. And kids, I don't know if I've ever had a kid call me sir as a police officer in the last 10 years. They're like, po, get out of here, 5-0. Am I free to leave? And they're already going down that road. And I'm trying to erase that. And I understand the media and law enforcement, we're sometimes our own worst enemy, because whenever we make a mistake, that's the one that goes viral on all the social media. So believe me, I'm hitting it from both sides. But I was just echoing one of the few things that letter said there, is that we as parents, and I have 2 stepkids, and I gave them the exact same speech that I give the same kids when I go to inner city Philadelphia, like I'm doing tomorrow night to train a bunch of women in safety, is you're responsible for your own safety. If you choose to walk down that dark alley, yeah, you might become a victim, but you made a poor choice before that. So I want to educate you to make better choices, or at least if you have to make that poor choice, let's make it as safe as possible. Take a friend, pretend you're talking on the phone, do something else to give yourself a chance to survive, and so forth. So I don't want to take too much of the time.
No, that was very powerful, because that's exactly what should be happening. And you're right. The parents have dropped the ball. I'm going to let Aaron speak first, and then I'm going to explain why I know that they dropped the ball, or my viewpoint on that part. So go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, when Corey was talking, I do agree that, I was yes, sir, yes, ma'am. We went to church. I still can't call the adults my parents' age by their first name. It's always Mr. and Mrs. Like, I know I'm close to their age. I know their first names. I just can't get myself to do it. It just doesn't feel right. My main comment on what you read, though, is just like the play. I understand she's frustrated in the place she's coming from, but oftentimes when clients come to me, they need help with the school, it's already at a spot where the communication is just really broken down, and it's hard to get that back. So when, either side is at that point when they're, the victim blaming, it's not helpful. As a parent, I mean, you're hearing stuff. I mean, I've heard stuff said to me that shouldn't have been said to me. You're emotional, and they're talking about your child. So just trying to remember that, we're all people, we're all good at heart, and just, give them the benefit of the doubt and try to work together for what's best for the kid is my 2 cents.
It's more than 2 cents. I'm good. I feel the same way. So when I walk into the schools, I'm normally Mr., Mrs. to the principal. Sometimes those principals are either my same age or, are younger. And that's on, I just do it out of respect because of their position. It doesn't have anything to do with age, but I was raised the same way. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. I mean, how many times we get popped for this? But there was an expectation. There was an expectation of respect. And right now, even my own, they're like, you have to give respect or get it. No. That's not how this works. We all start on level ground. You don't get to talk to people sideways and get respect in return. That's not how that works. When you go to school, you're there to do a job. When I go to my job, I'm there to do a job. So if they tell me no cursing on the floor and answer the phone a very specific way, guess what? I have to do that. So when you go to school to learn. You don't go to school to do all these other things that are happening. And disrespect is bad because it just does nothing but degrade. But to go back to the one point I want to make, I agree that the parents have dropped the ball, but I also agree that our community around us and everything that we have is the reason why that's happening, right? I believe that, I don't know. Oh, there you go. It's tickering across. I believe that parent 1 is school. Parent 1 is home. Parent 2 is school. The bonus parent is community. All of those together equal a healthy child. This teacher saying, we're not the problem, they're the problems. You're not accepting responsibility for your participation. That's what is wrong. All these participation trophies, they're not working clearly because you just said you're not participating in that child's development. And you actually are. Because when you write things like that, I wasn't the only one that read that. And remember, kids are on social media too, so they're seeing what you're saying about them. I'm not saying to not do this or not to complain or not to say these things. What I'm saying is that be mindful of what you're saying because you are contributing and participating, whether you like it or not, So my take, parents are in a situation where they're working 2 and 3 jobs just to keep food in the refrigerator and a roof over their heads. Unfortunately, that comes with a cost, and the child is the one that pays the price. So that's part of the reason why that's happening. That's why the predators are able to get in where they are. That's why people are able to lure your children away through the devices in their, in your homes and things like that. But let's talk about the other side of that. School. You change the rules. Math is math. That is math until you add an X and then it becomes algebra. Stop changing how the child is learning because I can't help a kid learn new math when I was never taught the new math. And the way you teach the math is not as simple as 1 + 1 is 2. It turns into all this other stuff. So if you make it harder for the parents to support you at home, you can't complain that they're not getting their homework done or the parents are not participating in the lessons. Okay? That's what I'm saying. So education, as we're moving closer and closer to, as we're improving in technology and moving the needle, the parents have to catch up too. And if they don't have the time or they don't, we can make the time, right? That's not true. Because if I don't go to work, if I'm trading my time for money as a parent, guess what happens? I don't go to work, that child doesn't get fed, CPS comes in and takes my kid because I'm not taking care of them. So what are your thoughts around that, gentlemen?
Tabitha, I'm not a fly on the wall in every house, right?
Yep.
But every parent we know has one of these.
Yes.
And we know the addiction level that one of these brings. So, and it may be an unfair statement for me to make, and I appreciate all the parents out there who are busting their butt working those 2 or 3 jobs. At the end of the day, guess what they want to come home and do? They don't want to come home and parent. They want to unwind. They want to throw on Netflix. They want to throw on Prime. They want to throw on whatever else. They want to sit and play Candy Crush on their phone instead of going, I got a job to do now. And yeah, it's late. Yeah, it's tired. I'm going to get 6 hours sleep tonight before I get to go do this 10, 11, 12-hour thing all over again tomorrow. But I signed up for this. I am a parent first. And so if you prioritize this first, that's what message is being sent to your kids, mom, dad, whoever, they value their tech device over me. And they're not there to support me. They're not there to guide me. And so, and again, I'm not saying that that's the case in every single household, but we know people can't get out of their car and walk from the car to their work without having their face buried in their phone to look at that text message or look at their Facebook or their Instagram or watch that TikTok reel. That's all they care about.
Yeah, I can see that too. I'm glad. So that's all right. Let's fight. Let's do it. Because here's the thing, nothing gets solved in dark places. And sometimes we have it wrong. And sometimes I have it wrong. And I'm okay with being wrong, but I want somebody to help me course correct. And that's what we're here to do. So you're right. I do see a lot of parents, especially the younger ones, who are like, I just don't want to be bothered with this child. So you go and do that. Go in your room, do that and other. I personally didn't do that with mine. If I couldn't see the screen, you couldn't be on it. And I do that with my niece. If your back has to be to me so I can see your screen. If I don't see your screen, you can't be on it. And if I catch you doing something that you're not supposed to be doing, if you see her on the streets, ask her what the first thing I say. I am going to punch you in the head. And I say that on purpose because I'm like, I need to interrupt the pattern. Stop it. Don't invite things into my household or into my home when I'm trying to save your behind, and then you bring in the predators into in through the computer, through the phone and stuff like that. And by the way, parental controls are not all they cracked up to be, friends. Nothing beats a human connection just looking over the screen, and they're really slick. So they know how to flip the screen before you realize what they're looking at. So don't get it twisted, figure it out, and put time limits on it. So I don't know. I just think that parents are stuck. You got some who are trying really hard, who really want it. You got other ones who are just lost, and you got other ones that just don't care. So how do we work with that? What can we do to help support them?
I'll jump in real quick. I think what we are doing right now is definitely helpful, is pointing out that Mr. Abood pointed out earlier, and I think you maybe saw a reply to him, that he said there's a great disconnect between law enforcement and the populace or the community as a whole. I agree 100%. I hope he understands that I echoed that when I said I train law enforcement to be more professional, treat people with dignity and respect, but also try to teach human beings. The most recent time I was on a local news channel was in reference to a high-profile Pennsylvania State Police arrest. And my first comment was, I said, we as private citizens have an automatic duty to comply with a legal law enforcement interaction or contact first. Fight it in court later. Fight it in court later. And that's what I'm teaching the kids also. Fight it in court later. The money's in there. And if you look at the Attorney General, the highest law enforcement officer in the state of New Jersey, in that office's use of force policy, it even says to people, do not resist an unlawful arrest or an improperly acting police officer. And then the next page, it says, show me the money from the movie, that actual screen, in a big pile of $100 bills. It's encouraging you to comply with an improperly trained or an improper arrest because they know there's going to be a civil remedy for you. So I take those slides and I try to show that to people. So one thing I like to do is some commonality. I'll wrap this up real quick. Some commonality was if the kids aren't getting the attention from their parents because their parents are on this and the kids are on this, they're going to seek attention from some other place, which is that either that box that's in their hands, or that gang that's on the street, or that bad influence, or that adult that maybe has other designs on them. So we're losing it in a bunch of different areas. And you're right, the teacher a ratio of 1 to 28, it's really difficult to make that personal connection at that aspect. So we as parents definitely have to step up our game. And the answer, some sort of education for parents on a minimum skill set that we need to send our kids to school with, on how to navigate 2024, not 1988 when I was walking back and forth to high school, because it's different, right?
Yep, I agree. So I agree. I think that I'm glad that this platform is here, that we're able to do that and have like very like organic conversations and provide solutions to families who are going to be able to use that, right? So Aaron, do you ever worry about your child on the internet or coming in contact with any of these things that we've been talking about today? Because that's a lot.
Yes, my daughter, she does have an iPhone and she's on Facebook and stuff. So, I mean, I am worried about, her giving out more information than she should. She does know her address and that kind of stuff. So that is scary. In regards to law enforcement, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I want my daughter to be fully included in school and society, is because I want everybody to know who she is. Even law enforcement, because I mean, sometimes, we all get, dysregulated at some point, and she has a hard time, sometimes understanding, like if I'm swinging, like if she's at home and she's upset and she swings at me, like I know she's upset. It is what it is, but I worry, what if she's out in public, she swings at somebody and she's not able to calm down and law enforcement is called. I'm scared she's not going to be somebody, as Corey said, that's going to maybe comply with the police, because she's just not in a spot to recognize that. So it is scary for me. And she's white, so we don't have the racial piece, but just her not being able to hear what's being said, comply with it. That's one of the main reason I want everybody to know who she is. So
Can I jump in real quick, Aaron?
Yeah,
and
sure.
This will make you feel a little bit better. I know in New Jersey, for one, and all across the country, we're getting a lot of training on interacting with people who, and I'll just use a broader term of crisis, right? Yeah. To include any kind of subcategory of whatever caused that person to be in crisis. We're getting a lot of training on that. We're getting a lot of support from the local mental health community that will actually come out and help us deal with that. I mean, everything from the puzzle pieces they're telling us to recognize on the back of people's cars to everything else, to one person talks at a time, give them one sentence at a time, give them time to process that sentence, work towards, goal-oriented things. So we were getting, and like I said, I've been out of the game for 6 years. And we were getting that training back then. So I just hope that makes you feel a little bit better that we recognize there's an issue. It takes a long time to fix it because we were well behind the 8 ball, but we are working towards making.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's just like, as a parent, you just kind of like, when you're not around and you don't know you're not there to like explain, because she's somewhat nonverbal. So I'm not there to explain to somebody like what she's feeling. You just kind of have that. Do you suggest, maybe like we're in a smaller town, would you suggest like parents like going to the police station, talking with them and kind of getting to know them better?
I think that's going to, I think that's a two-way street. It'll make her more comfortable if she goes to the police station and gets to see a police car, gets to sit in a police car, gets to play with the lights and the sirens, if that's not going to cause any crisis for her. Right. If she, heaven forbid, has to see that out in the wild where it's a real situation, that'll lower her stress level. And again, yes, the you said a smaller town, so bring some donuts and coffee. You got to bring donuts and coffee. They're not going to come out and talk to you. I mean, I got to call it is what it is. But yeah, and then do that a couple times in over a period of 2 months, you'll get to meet 75% of the patrol officers who may have to interact with her, and she can meet them. They can meet her. They can know what's going on, know how to calm her down, or at least how to get a hold of you. And it can make that interaction less traumatic for everybody involved.
Awesome.
Thank you. See, I love the solution side of things, because here's the other thing. So Dave, you talk about the fact that you're working to prevent the exploitation of a child on there. Here's the thing that a lot of people did not realize, and I think I brought it out in one of the other ones. Your children, when they get to a certain age, your children will listen more towards their peers. But guess who's grooming them for future business? Their peers. Some of the girls that are sold into trafficking or into the sex trade actually got there with friends, by their boyfriend, by one of their friends inviting them to a party, and then something going really, really wrong really fast. Or in the school where when my kids were, I tell you what, if I had kids now, I would not have them in school. When I tell you that they went and took, there was something called a thought wall, and they would post pictures of girls, however, on this wall, and they would just, I mean, it was horrible. And I think it was around that time where they started saying that the children, when they have nude pictures of children on their phone, even as a child, they can be seen as a predator and can be charged accordingly because they have underage pictures on their phones, even though they are underage themselves. So how do parents kind of help to protect themselves, or protect what signs should they look for? That's the one thing. What signs should they look for? Because there are signs that let you know that your child is struggling and somebody has their pictures kind of out there and trying to sextort them, is what that's called.
Yeah, well, with parents, we always talk to them about balancing their child's privacy and their protection. I think that there is a fine line there, because you have to allow your child to be able to grow up and learn to make decisions for themselves, right? But if they become all of a sudden, like, they're just withdrawn, they're irritable, maybe they're showing fears of actually using technology, they may go the opposite direction of technology, right? That they're feeling fears around using it because something's happened, or maybe they're on the other end spending a lot more time on it because somebody has exploited them, somebody has extorted them, and they're being told, you need to be able to provide more content, more images, or more video to me, and that's the only way that I'm going to stop this from being shared publicly with other people, right? If their child's coming home with that sweet new pair of shoes, or the new purse, or the new bag, or the new clothing that parents, right, and they don't have a job, well, where is this coming from? And you start asking questions. If there's unexplained injuries, bruises, burn marks, right? If there's all of a sudden packing up and leaving the house on a moment's notice without an explanation of saying, hey, can I go to Tabitha's house tonight? I'm just up and gone like that to Tabitha's house, right? There's a lot of just kind of key warning signs. Now, parents, though, then need to look at it and not become accusatory, right? Because that's just going to drive the gap even further between them and their kid. They have to become inquisitive. You got to watch for the signs. You have to show concern for them. But I think for parents, it's important that you're always showing concern, that you're always involved in your kid's life. Because if you all of a sudden just do it when you think your child's in trouble, they're going to say, well, you didn't care before, or at least you weren't showing that you cared. It doesn't mean that they don't care. But you weren't showing this level of care before. Well, what's your interest in it now? And guess what? I'm not interested in you giving me interest in it now. And I'm going to shut you out even more. So there's not one definitive telltale sign that this is what's happening. It can be accumulative. It can be a small little thing, right? And I think you just have to be able to open the door and having conversations. For those parents who have kids that are young now, have those good conversations with them now. Talk to them now. Build that trust. Because when it comes time when they're older and something potentially happens, or they're in a bad situation, like even, when I was growing up, my parents said to me, like, there's never a time that you can't call me if you're in trouble. I don't care what you've done. I don't care if you've been drinking. I don't care if it's where, if you're in a bad spot, you can call me. And start that messaging, with kids young, because there are times where they're going to find themselves, they're back against the wall. Friends are pulling them into this work, right? I don't want to go down the Jeffrey Epstein rabbit hole, but that's the way that worked. He would bring these young girls in, and then they would start bringing their friends to him. Okay. And that's a very publicized one, but it happens the same way because there's money in
Yes.
it for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make sure that this is the point that I want to make. It is not always men. Girls do not follow boys. We don't. If we're going to follow the boy, we like him. He has something that we want and things like that. But women, we go to the bathroom in groups. We hang out in groups. So if my friend as a female says to me, hey, you want to come and do this? I don't know about that. No. I would never do harm, right? So if you look, even in the Jeffrey Epstein, he wasn't the one always pulling the girls. It was a woman that was pulling the girls. So be mindful. And I'm so glad you said that. I never would have thought about I knew the bruises, look for the bruises, but I never thought about new tennis shoes or a purse with no job. Where is this stuff coming from? Who's buying you these clothes? What's going on? What do I need to know? The other thing is stop asking questions that are yes and no. You have to get rid of that. We need to start using more open-ended questions. That is teachers, that is parents, that is community. Stop asking questions that are that gives them a way out. Yes. Did you go to school? Yep. How was it? Okay. Those are not helpful. You have to ask questions. What was the best part of your day? Who was the most important person you met today? What is the worst thing somebody said to you today? So let's discuss that. What happened that makes you, why are you so irritable today? You have to ask questions that force them into a position to actually expand upon where they are. And then that way it starts to open up. But the first thing you do is get rid of the phone. Put it down, flip it up. Nothing else matters when you're sitting there talking to them. So you sit there face to face, looking at them and making sure that you are 100% listening. It's called active listening and paying attention to what they're saying, because that's how we're losing our kids. They don't think we love them. They don't think that we care and that everything else is more important. The one thing I said, and so people will say, oh, well, that may not be true. Actually, I think it kind of is. Let me tell you the one example. I figured that's where it starts. Look at the mess in Michigan. The parents went on trial and they got convicted and they got sentenced. And now they're going to jail for a period of time. That family had an opportunity. They had many opportunities, but the last opportunity, the day of that incident, they had an opportunity to remove him from the space because they knew that there was a problem and they were told. And the response that one of the ones that I read was that I have to go to work. I cannot take him with me, right? So your job was more important, even though they told you this is what's happening and we fear that something else is wrong. And for that, you chose to go to your job versus go ahead and take him and go and seek help. And he took the lives of others, and now you're paying for his transgressions and the one mistake that cannot be erased. So parents, yes, to a certain degree, the teacher was correct.
Yeah.
It is.
Can I throw one thing in, Tabitha?
Go ahead.
You would ask like a two-part question, and Dave did a fantastic job taking that second part. I wanted to throw something on the first part when you said, "What can parents do to find out if their children are up to something?" On this box here, this is something that's going to give parents immediate results. You can go to YouTube right now and put in a search on how do kids hide apps on their phones. So like your kids can have an app that looks at a document as a calculator or a meme creator or a game, and it's actually a place to store nefarious stuff like photographs or chat rooms or things like that. And you can get a YouTube video, sit there and show you in 15 minutes all the apps to look for. And then you can sit with your child and say, all right, take me through your phone and open every app, every folder, and see which one everything is. You got to start that earlier. But even if, okay, I never did it before, today's the first day I'm going to do it, you be open and honest with your kid and say, hey, listen, I talked to some people today. They said that bad things can happen on your phone from, the government's worried about TikTok and there's predators and all these extra things. I want us to start now by having an open relationship where, it's common knowledge. where I know what apps you have in your phone. So you can learn exactly which apps to look for that are specifically used by predators or by kids to hide stuff that they don't want you to see. So you can get immediate results with that and find out right now, not looking to get your kid in trouble, but looking to prevent this from getting worse.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. I didn't know that either. I heard about a little bit because they used to do those apps where the messages would disappear, so you would never be able to catch them. But now they have to do something different. They're always ahead in trying to help. And so the question that I would ask after that is, why are people helping the kids hide things? You know why? Okay, it's it's 150 billion, with a B, $1 billion industry per year. That's why they're helping your kids hide those apps. So if you think about why, then you'll understand what you need to do as a parent. I thank you, gentlemen, for coming and hanging out with me today and sharing your expertise. Phil, Sendal, Kristen, Joe, all the people that came and hung out. Thank you so much for sharing your comments and everything. Please do me a favor and connect with these gentlemen, because they are some powerful leaders, man. And they have some of the answers that we're looking for. For the teachers, if you feel as though that you're having a really hard time with your parents, you might want to ask why, because sometimes we don't see what's behind closed doors, as Dave said. And unfortunately, behind closed doors, a whole lot of bad things are happening that we're unaware of. And then we're facing the world with a brave face, thinking that nobody can see it, or that we're just doing the best we can, and we're dying inside. And all we need to do is be seen or heard. And so just know that the children, it's not on purpose always, because I do know some that need to be thumped. I ain't gonna lie. But it's, we're all looking for the improvement of every child in every generation. So I just want to say thank you again for everybody. Corey, Dave, Aaron, if you ever want to come back and share a little bit more, please let us know. The door is always open. Okay.
Thanks, Tabitha, for having us.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Stay safe, everyone.
Yes. So again, thank you so much. Make sure that you connect with them. I'm going to go ahead and put everything in the description, so how you can connect with everyone, including their website. So look for that on YouTube. Everybody, thank you so much. Remember, words are power. Please remember to use them wisely.
Thank you for your time today. We appreciate the support and look forward to you visiting us again next week. Same time, same place. Until then, words are power. Please remember to use them wisely. If you have an interest, like to be on our live show, please let us know and send us a direct message.